Welcome back to Stab the Dragon Productions, episode number 179, Dragonfire number 15, as we discuss the news of the past week from a Christian perspective. So, fellow patriots, Bible-believing Christians, conservatives, we live in perilous times, wicked times. And the bottom line, the starting point, is that we need to heed what Jesus says in Mark's Gospel, chapter 1, verse 15. The time is fulfilled and the kingdom of God is at hand. Repent and believe in the gospel. The only hope for our souls is the grace of God leading us to trust in Jesus, and the only hope for America is a heaven-sent, Bible-based, Christ-centered, Spirit-filled revival that equals the Reformation and the Great Awakening. Now on to the news. In my last Dragonfire, dated July 15th, I stated that I was not convinced the shooting of Trump was a conspiracy. I needed more evidence. And I thought it likely that this one crazy kid somehow beat the Secret Service. I'm going to call it the SS from this point on. That the Secret Service was lax and had some mistakes. However, after this week's revelations and the actions of the SS director before Congress, my needle has moved all the way over to where I am 90% convinced this was the result of a serious conspiracy, probably by the United States government, the dark state, the deep state, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 90% sure. What has led me to this? I watched many clips of the SS director, Cheadle, before the Congressional Committee, and her behavior was seriously suspect. She did not clear up any serious question, despite having had over a week to prepare. What I saw was obfuscation, stonewalling, evasion, and probably lying. This effort to not answer questions was one of two reasons, or even both combined. Either she was covering up gross incompetence or covering up a criminal conspiracy, or even a combination of the two. She couldn't even come up with a timeline, which we watched everything happen on TV, but she couldn't come up with a timeline. She revealed that the communications of the SS that day were not recorded, when usually they would be recorded. Usually, but not always, leaving herself an out. Reminds me of the January 6th day where communications were lost by the SS in regards to the bomb plot at the Democrat National Committee headquarters. She confirmed that the team protecting Trump was comprised mostly of Homeland Security personnel, not the SS. She denied, in a slippery weasel way, she denied the Trump team protective resources that were needed. Outside of the hearings, secondly, we have now learned from other investigators that someone with a phone visited Crooks several times at his home, business, and, critically, also pinged 1 block away from FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. So, in other words, Crooks had several visits from somebody who had one visit close to the FBI headquarters. Then we find out that the gun club Crooks and his father regularly used was also frequented by Homeland Security and ICE agents for training. Really? We have learned that the counter-sniper team hesitated in their shot because they thought there were supposed to be friendlies on that roof. And that's how the sniper got off 8 shots at Trump and the crowd. 8. Now, having fired an AR-15, M16, multiple times, a lot, thousands of rounds, you can pull that trigger pretty quickly. But still, 8 shots. The Secret Service failed to show up at a coordination meeting with local police department and Pennsylvania state troopers that Saturday morning, which likely led to the confusion by the counter-sniper team and some of the commo failures. Crooks was likely planning not just to shoot Trump, but The explosives in his car, which the FBI director confirmed, and the remote detonator on his person were designed to produce a mass casualty event. Imagine that. Also, crooks flew a drone over the side of the rally just a few hours prior to the start of the event, but the SS had no drones in the sky, did not have a counter drone unit present at this large outdoor rally, and they do have a counter drone unit, it just wasn't there. In fact, the local police department offered the SS their drones, and the offer was refused by the SS team. When SS former Director Cheadle, resigned in disgrace, she was replaced that day by Ron Rowe, who had been in charge of protective operations. So the guy in charge of the teams that failed to protect Trump was rewarded for his failure by replacing Cheadle, whom he has since praised and thanked. Therefore, there is zero accountability by the SS, which is typical of bureaucracies, right? They reward failure and mediocrity. Or is it a cover-up? So my analysis. When you have 3 to 4 coincidences or failures, you're going to have a very bad day. But if you've got 9 or 10, it's gross negligence, which should result in criminal charges at the least. When you look at the evidence about the phone and the coincidence of the Homeland Security guys using the same range as crooks, plus his skills with rifle, explosives, and drone, yep, I've moved to 90% on board with the idea this was a government plot to kill Trump. Only 90%. We're still awaiting the smoking gun, so to speak. In other words, this is enough. I think enough evidence to implicate, but not enough to convict. It's enough to convict under negligence. Okay, the negligent homicide, negligence in their job to protect people. Now, Christians, we should not jump to conclusions, and I haven't. Neither should we allow ourselves to be played as fools. Keep in mind, the government very likely offed JFK and covered it up with the Warren Commission burying the evidence for 75 years. We as believers seem to have an unhealthy trust in the government, news media, experts, public schools. The evidence here is pointing to criminal actions by the government, at least criminal negligence. And it's the government investigating itself. Thank the Lord for the work of the Heritage Foundation, who came up with the phone data, Dan Bongino and the Pennsylvania State Troopers and local police, a lot of congressmen, Senator Josh Hawley getting involved here. Your government hates you. Do not trust them. But again, I'm only 90% there. There could be some explanations that would say, okay, this wasn't a plot, this was only negligence. But again, there needs to be prosecutions. Topic 2. President Biden bows out of the race. A couple of weeks ago, it was reported by Laura Loomer that Biden got sick in Las Vegas and was rushed back to Delaware or Walter Reed. Officials denied that, but then said Biden had COVID despite having all the booster shots. He disappeared for a week and then last Sunday announced in a suspicious tweet that he was bowing out of the race, despite several prior statements that he wouldn't quit, unless his doctor told him to. So there may be an implication there. And then in his announcement on TV this week, on Wednesday the 24th of July, he said he was quitting the race for patriotic reasons, to defend democracy, but nothing really solid. It was evasive, weak, and nonspecific, and he looked and sounded like death warmed over. He was a cadaver. And some investigators have blown up a picture of his wristwatch that was there on the desk, and it shows a time on the watch that means that was not a live speech. It was a recorded speech, and it was put across as live. So I'm not 100% positive on that, but I saw the pictures. Michael Knowles was talking about it, I think. So, you know, the deception continues. Now, the story behind the story is that the Democrat machine, the big donors, the Obamas, the Clintons, wanted him to quit because he was going to lose. Biden became the first incumbent president to seek re-election after his first term since Lyndon B. Johnson in 1968 to quit, right? He was going to, nobody else has quit. Obama got reelected, Clinton got reelected, Jimmy Carter ran and got defeated. The plot to oust him has been going on for a long time because they all knew he was old, senile, frail, and not up to it. But in the public, Vice President Harris, the FBI Director Wray just this week, the press spokesperson KJP, they all say he's sharp as a tack. He's on it. He's got all kinds of energy. All of this is lies. I mean, don't deny what your eyes are telling you here. The news media and the Democratic senators, the cabinet, the congressmen, they've all covered for the president who, A, shouldn't have been elected in the first place. But, 4 years ago in the 2020 campaign, he was kept in the basement because he was too old, frail, and senile. We all knew that. So now all of a sudden he quits the race for the sake of democracy? Let's interpret that. He cannot win because he's too old, too liberal, too sick. And Trump is going to win, and Trump is the threat to democracy. So he's going to quit the race so that Harris can win against Trump and save democracy. That's the theme of the Democrats. But the problem is that the Dems had a primary. Biden was chosen by the Dem voters all across America. So now it's the powers that be, the Democrat machine, who have selected Vice President Harris to be the nominee. And the people, the Dem voters, don't have a say? All of their work is for nothing? All of this to save democracy? So we have to be undemocratic to save democracy. All the while, impeaching, suing, prosecuting Trump, and now trying to kill Trump to save democracy. The irony is thick. Topic number 3. Well, continuing with topic number 2 here, there was something else about the speech that we shouldn't overlook. Approximately an hour before the speech, in a different time zone, way out west, off the coast of Alaska, the Chinese and Russians teamed together with flying bombers, their bombers, towards Alaska to the air defense identification zone, right? And then we had to send up fighter jets to escort them out. This is a first. Never before have the Russians and Chinese flown bombers together towards Alaska. What was that about? They knew about the speech. They were sending a message. America, you have no leader. We know it. And we're making our case that you are weak. Very simple. All right, topic number 3. Islamicists and pro-Hamas terrorists attacked Washington, D.C. this week in a real insurrection as the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived. Now, the Harris-Biden campaign or administration chose to not even greet him at the airport. Harris did not attend the speech at the joint session of Congress, but she did meet with him later. The Hamas terrorists did nasty things in the streets to our historical monuments like the Liberty Bell, and they spread maggots and worms at the restaurant, yes, you heard that right, where the Israeli delegation was to eat. Nice people. Those who support Hamas and are against Israel also support the historic war of Islam against Christianity, against the church, against the gospel, against Christ, against Western civilization, against America, and against Israel and the Jews. The church in America needs to read some history and wise up. Islam has been at war with the West and with Christianity since the 7th century. If we don't do something to stand up for ourselves, we will be conquered. England has almost virtually been conquered. France has almost been conquered. Germany has almost been conquered. Charles Martel is turning over in his grave. If Harris is elected, she will be even more anti-Semitic and anti-Christian than Biden. Topic number 4. The opening of the Olympics in France was a perverted, anti-Christian, profane abomination. The use of men dressed up as fake women, homoeroticism, and including a child in the mix, as they mocked both Christianity and classical art of Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, was disgusting. Christianity is the only religion that can be publicly mocked and humiliated, it seems. If they had done that towards Islam, Paris would be burning today, which would not be different from many other days. But some kind of terror strike did hit France this week as they downed the high-speed rail system, closing off incoming rail to Paris, so it clogged up the transportation network. So, you can't secure your rail lines. You can't start the Olympics without a perversion display. Right. So our society, we just need Jesus to come back. I mean, this is pathetic. But the church is demonstrating itself as being weak by allowing things like this to happen. When, being meek does not mean being weak. Being humble does not mean being a doormat. There is plenty of strength in our faith to put up a peaceful resistance, a peaceful demonstration against these forces of evil and darkness. We live in dangerous times. Pray for America. Pray for revival. Pray for the defeat of Team Harris. And Trump is not the end-all be-all solution to your problems, but the Dems will wreck America, harm the church, and make your problems worse. Trump, I think, will make America great again and be a friend to the church, even though he's imperfect. So pray for Trump and Vance for wisdom and protection for them and their families. This is Stab the Dragon, in hoaxing yo winkies, out here.